And you're welcome back to Morning Express. Now, for the second leg of discussions on the program, as Bito had earlier mentioned, we will be visiting Lagos State with a very dramatic turn of events following Obasa's impeachment and his return. Pressure is mounting on the Lagos State House of Assembly. What should we be expecting when Obasa returns to plenary? Now, these are questions that will be answered by Patriot Desmond O, who is the president of the Nigeria Nexus. And also, we will be joined much later virtually by a virtual guest. Bito, do you care to help me out?
Yes, we'll be joined by a virtual guest, Barrister Abubakar, who would share his thoughts on the issue as well. I also hear that Barrister has also made the connection and would welcome both of them at the same time. Patriot Desmond is in the studio. Good morning to you.
Good morning, Bito. Good morning, Chijoke. It's good to be in the studio this morning, at least, to look at this very important issue that has actually greeted our media spaces in the later hour of last week.
Well, Patriot is already revving his engine. I'm sure he's heated up to take us through now. Barrister Tami, it's wonderful to have you join us on the program this morning. Good morning to you.
Yeah, we can hear you. Welcome. Thanks for joining us on the program. Now let's begin with the legal perspective to it. We hear impeachments. We saw the deputy speaker being called to take over the place of Obasa, but we also saw the video that went viral, and he says that he did not follow the legal proceedings. Help put us through what is legally required for the impeachment to be valid in the eyes of the law.
The issue of impeachment has been a very recurring decimal in our democratic ideals. You see, as lawmakers, they are expected to conform to the basic tenets of our democracy and the Constitution, what the Constitution provides for. To impeach a speaker, you need the majority. So I guess it's a natural sequence of events. The speaker was absent. He thought his presence is required. You see, when you say due process, who defines what due process is? A speaker is not the only member of the of the State House of Assembly. If he's not around, businesses of the day will continue. So the thinking of his is that because he's not around, some kind of action should not be taken. But repeatedly, they've gone to court to test this, and the court has always affirmed actions taken if it is in line with the clear provisions of the Constitution. So the speaker, for him, he might want to drag the whole process, maybe by going to court to seek for judicial interpretation of what has happened. But the judiciary on its own have tried its best to abstain from interfering in political matters. It's left for the State House of Assembly to continue with their processes. If they have impeached him, they've appointed another speaker to replace him, they will continue with their business. If it goes to court, which I believe he has done, it will be left for the court to interpret, but that will not stop the business of the day from going on. They have every right at any time to impeach their speaker for whatever consideration. What counts is the majority of the members.
Now, Barrister Tanimu, thank you for establishing what will constitute grounds for impeachment. Now, let's also talk about some of the allegations leveled against Obasa. Allegations on mismanagement on office and graft were some of those loud ones we hear around media rounds. But in terms of your view into the issues in the House, do you think that there is also the issue of alleged interference on the executive in terms of what it wants in the State House of Assembly?
Absolutely. It even goes beyond that. If you look at, there's a statement circulating on the social media where the impeached speaker was talking about his, there's nothing restraining him from having the capacity to contest for Lagos State gubernatorial election in 2027. That being said, we'll look at it that there is more of political undertone. There has never been an issue of conflict between a heightened conflict between the executive and the legislature. But in this context, when you look at it, lately we've started seeing instances where some they believe the speaker has not been according the state governor the due respect and regards that he deserves, talking about keeping him waiting for a lengthy period, talking about so many issues that ordinarily one should not focus and pay more attention on. But because we are in the era and we are already, permutation has started for 2027 election, there's this strong insinuation that Obasa is anticipating or wants to contest for the seat of governor and is not the chosen candidate. And because they all know the influence he has being the speaker, so the best approach is to like cut him before he gets to that point, so that he will not in any way affect the smooth transition from the same party to the next governor coming from the same party, if all their permutation works out right.
All right, Barrister, we'll come back to you in just a short while. Now, back to the studio here. Let's get Patriot's take on the impeachment of Mudashiru Obasa and his sudden return to the country. A video went viral where he was, charging his supporters and stating some very strong perceptions of his own perceptions of the impeachment, citing that they cannot impeach him as Speaker of the House of Assembly. What are your thoughts on this?
Interesting tales, interesting stories there. Yeah. You see, if you're very conversant with Yoruba movie in the 90s, around 91, 92, 93, on major television, this is is likened, what is happening right now is likened to the return of Abijawara. Obasa case can be described as the return of Abijawara. You don't expect a player of that nature. He is a gladiator. He is a stakeholder as far as Lagos State is concerned. Yeah. Don't forget that he has been there since 2003, and then it will be very difficult for him to come back and not make such noise. It is politically, I think he's a smart guy, and what he did, the stunt he pulled over the weekend, is very, very necessary for him to actually stay afloat as far as politics is concerned in Lagos State. All these issue of whether his removal is valid or invalid, whether the narratives he also painted that there is nothing like impeachment in Lagos House, it can be removed, that the constitution is clear, that a speaker cannot be impeached but can be removed. It's just a question of nomenclature, and it has nothing to do with the facts. The fact is that there have been allegations of corruption, whether true or false. But then the House have gone ahead to sit, and anonymously has decided that he has to go, and that is the fact. Yes, whether he's alleged, whether it's a fact or not, is not what we are contesting now. It's not what we are looking at. What we are looking at is that Obasa have spent 10 years in the House as the Speaker of Lagos Assembly.
And it's long overdue.
And not even a question of long overdue. The people have seen the good, the bad, and the ugly part of Obasa, and they came together to say that we need a replacement at this material time, that is wearing so much strength and power to himself. And don't forget, 2027 is around the corner. So you have to look at the whole situation and scenarios. They are intertwined. You cannot take one from the other. You cannot take the allegation that is becoming too powerful from the fact that he is corrupt, or from the fact that he's trying to contest for Lagos governor. So if he wants to contest for Lagos governor, like he rightly puts it, that he is also matured, he is mentally stable, and is politically stabilized to contest
for governorship.
And he said he's qualified, that nobody who has contested, he even mentioned, or he said Tanimu in his narration, that Tanimu, Fashola, Akinwumi Ambode, Sanwo-Olu, none of them is better than himself. He said it in the House blatantly that the previous governors that have contested
his 5 minutes conference in front of his premise following his return from the United States. But before we let the Barrister Tanimu go, because we hear you have other engagements this morning, let's also talk about a statement that was signed by some lawmakers supporting the Deputy Speaker Mojisola Miranda, who was nominated to take the place of the Speaker. Let's also get your thoughts on this solidarity that we hear lawmakers in the State House of Assembly are giving her, and what it entails in a dynamics with many calling for Obasa not to heat up the polity in Lagos? Let's get your thoughts on it.
Okay, thank you very much. The law, whether or not I allow vacuums in the absence of Obasa for whatever consideration, pending when the court will come up with its ruling or judgment, the deputy naturally will step in. So for me, I believe the issue of Obasa is trying to make the general public to realize that he believes that fair hearing was not given to him. If allegation of corruption of whatever reason is given, he should be given the opportunity of defending himself before any action can and would have been taken. But now the action has been taken and the law will not allow vacuum. So the deputy naturally should step in pending when the House will convene and maybe elect a new speaker to replace Obasa, or pending when there will be the final court judgment on this matter. So for me, the the State House of Assembly, they will continue with their businesses. They will continue to pass the relevant state laws, and they will continue with their affairs. So there will not be vacuum.
But what does this do for him? Does this also deny him access to the State House of Assembly? Is he to partake in plenary but not in his position as Speaker? What does this entail for him going forward?
I think it's a very delicate matter, and security agencies and personnel should up their game, in the sense that we don't know if he has openly stated that he will not accept this removal or impeachment, whatever term he described it. So if he decides to go in, will he want to sit as an ordinary floor member, or will he want to drag the speakership seat? And that will spell doom. That will create anarchy. So security agencies need to be fully mobilized and deployed to the precinct of the State House of Assembly, and they should ensure that there's peace and decorum. They should allow him access. But the question is, at this time, he should sit rather as an ordinary floor member, so that there won't be chaos and anarchy in the State House of Assembly.
Now, how about his allegations of towards the Nigeria police, where he cited that over 200 police personnel stormed his own residence, and sieged the house, detained his wife and children, his family, basically kept them inside the building and refused them access or exit of the building. Do you think this should be a matter that should be looked into critically at this point?
Absolutely. I think the Police Service Commission should now wage in with a big stick. The instances of abuse of office and power by our police personnel is becoming a recurring decimal. The police have turned into politicians. They take sides with the power with the government in power. So anything that the government in power are doing, the police are in 100% support. That shouldn't be the case. The police is a professional agency, is a professional entity that should strive to protect the citizen regardless of their political affiliation. Obasa is a Nigerian citizen. He deserves the protection, and he should not be intimidated. He should not be harassed. His family too should not face such kind of action by the Nigerian police. My expectation is that the police will rather be at the precincts of the State House of Assembly to ensure that there is peace and decorum, not in any way attacking the former speaker. It spells a lack of professionalism, and the Police Service Commission, as I earlier mentioned, should step in. Officers responsible for that action should be dealt with, the matter should be investigated, and there should be commensurate and punishment to serve as deterrent. Because all over the country, as I said, it has been a recurring decimal. You see police that are actually actively engaged in supporting a political affiliation. In this case, the government in power. Because Obasa has suddenly fall out with the government that be, now the police have now suddenly turned against him. This shouldn't be. The police should be a very professional organization. They should be apolitical. They should treat the most important aspect or function of the police is to ensure that there's peace, law, and order. And this action they've taken in this regard, it does not reflect that.
Well, we must thank you, Barrister Tanimu, for your time on the program. We wish you the best in your other endeavors today.
Thank you very much. Always a pleasure being on your program.
We appreciate you. Now, coming back to the studio, much like Barrister Tanimu had highlighted, during the 2025 budget proposal, there were allegations making the rounds that the Speaker at the time somewhat disrespected the Lagos State Governor, Governor Babajide Sanwo-Olu, whilst he was presenting the budget, hinting at his own ambition to run for the seat of governor come the 2027 elections. And much like Patriot Desmond had highlighted earlier, these comments mentioning the president, mentioning past governors and saying none of them have a better credential than him, have also been tied to these allegations of misappropriations of funds since he was elected to serve in the House dating back to 2015. Do you think that it is much on the former in terms of his attitude towards the governor that has seen what we're calling a civilian legislative coup that has ousted the Speaker?
Really, if you have been following Lagos politics, I think it has become a norm that at the expiration of the two terms, there will be some aggrieved members
In the House of Legislation.
in the House of Legislation that feels that naturally the Speaker should go. And the only reason why the Speaker remains is because of the stability that we have had in maintaining one party in Lagos State for a very long time. So the leaders always wage in to defend that such a removal at that time can cause instability in the polity. But look at the case of Ikuforiji. After about 10 years also, it was removed. It has always been like that.
Yeah.
So Obasa removal is timely and he's expected. Even himself, he knew that he will be removed. Now, on the issue of allegation, I can say it clear and loud that if investigated, you will find out that he will be found wanting. And not just only him, even maybe the deputy speaker and some leadership of the party. But that's, I don't see that going that tone. Lagos State is an institution and a model for every other state to emulate. Because of the system that Lagos State has put in place, political system that they have put in place, beyond the general party system like APC being in control, they have other mechanisms that stabilize the polity in Lagos State. One of those institutions is the office of the national leader of the party, who is the President of the Federal Republic of Nigeria. He is a stakeholder. He decides the tone of pendulum in Lagos State. Beyond that, we have a governorship advisory council known as the GAC. The makeup of GAC is one leader each from every local government area, the 20 local government area of Lagos State. And this leader are somewhat described as the kingmaker in their local government, and they have so much respect. They have earned so much respect among the political class in their local government, and they decide the tone of politics in Lagos State.
And who becomes the governor? This
institution also have a major role to play beyond appointment, beyond selection, beyond their role, the role they played in selecting leaders for these assemblies, for these chairmen, for reps, for governor. They also help in stabilizing Lagos politics. So what Obasa did politically, I'm a grounded student of politics, and I can tell you politically it is needed for him to make that noise so that he can still be called upon, even by the president.
Now, the reports say that
by the GAC,
that the GAC and the president are set to sit soon on the case of Obasa. Do you think that this might have been a premeditated move?
Like I told you, Lagos is different. I'm not seeing any conflict. Obasa is not bigger than the GAC.
What are you seeing?
I am saying that noise he made over the weekend, I'm very sure today, tomorrow, you'll not hear anything again from him. Just watch and see. I'm not even sure. Even the barrister is not authoritative with the statement that he has gone to court. It's just assumption. Obasa had to make that noise. You need to understand that you cannot just remove a speaker like that and he will just chicken out. He has to show that he's a leader. There are some people who expected much from him. I mean his followers. They don't expect a person like Obasa, who has been a speaker of the most deserving house in Nigeria, Lagos House of Assembly, to come back to the country after his removal without making any noise.
Now let's look at this noise he made. I will come back to your thoughts in a bit. It's been described as a 5-minute press conference, and much like Patriot Desmond has said, many did not expect him to take his impeachment lightly, gathering supporters and loyalists. He said that he would continue to pursue these cases, dispelling the allegations leveled against him as it concerns 43.5 billion naira that was earmarked for backup vehicles for members of the legislature. Also citing that his former case with the invitation from the EFCC was nothing since he was let go. Let's take a listen to the impeached Speaker Obasa's 5-minute press conference, and then we'll come back to conclude with the thoughts of Patriot Desmond.
Parliamentarian over 2 decades. Yes. And I'm the longest serving member in the Lagos State House of Assembly. And no one, as we speak, has surpassed my history, my position, and everything I take up. No one has experience as well. So I respect my colleagues in the Lagos State House of Assembly. They are my brothers, they are my sisters, they are my colleagues. I respect them, and I will continue to do that because I spent very most important of my life in that house. Anywhere you work for 20-something years, you cannot disregard and you cannot take for granted. I believe in removal. There is no impeachment in the assembly. You cannot impeach Speaker. Probably there's a mistake from them. You can only remove one house, please. You can only remove the Speaker. And if you are going to remove, you must ensure you follow the rules of the law. I am not afraid to be removed. What else am I looking for? If I serve as a Speaker of the House, and I served as a member of the House of Assembly since 2003 up to date. So what is the problem? Nothing. And the former councillor as a legislator. What I'm saying, if you want to do that, do it constitutionally. Follow the due process. Okay, let me ask you. Early in the morning on that day, policemen invaded the House of Assembly, led by the Commissioner of Police. What was he doing in the House of Assembly? What was his business in the House of Assembly? My house in Agege was invaded. More than 200 policemen go and investigate. And this house was blocked. My people from Agege were detained in blackmail. My children did not sleep in this house on that day because they were locked out, and my wife kept inside. Go and verify. Go and verify. For me, I'm not afraid. What should I be afraid of? It is not title of Babamuda's house. So it's just like a soldier. You have to reason like a soldier. When a soldier is going to war, you may come back and you will not come back. And that's my thinking and my listening. So I'm not afraid of one house, please. One house, please. I'm not afraid of being removed. If you remove me, you are not taking my life. And it's not going to stop me from being member of the house. I represent a constituency. And I continue to represent it. I thank God for my people in Agege. Repeatedly, they have returned me to represent them for 6 times. For 6 times. So what should I be afraid for? But all we are saying is that if you want to achieve something, do it well. Not because just because you realize that I've been out of the country and you have brought policemen to invade the House of Assembly, to invade my house in GRA, invade my house in Ade. It doesn't make sense. Lagos, our Lagos is a state that others look up to, and we must not denigrate Lagos. We must not pull it down. It's not like any other state. If you want to do something, and somebody who claims to be a historian of the assembly, in his erroneous put-up or write-up, said Obasa had been involved in so many removal and all this and all that. Fine, I cannot deny the facts. But let us ask questions. When Pelumi, my brother, who I love so much, and I fondly call him Bodawayidi, when he was removed, he was in the house, and there was no police involvement. It was done on the floor of the house, without broken into the chamber, and without presenting fake mace. When Tajo showed my sister, my lovely sister, my friend, when she was removed as a deputy speaker, we were all there on the floor of the house. We did not invite any police. It was done peacefully. And the members that were suspended, it was done by the majority of the members on the floor of the house. So if someone is claiming to know much, then you should go back and learn and study.
Now, the impeached Speaker Obasa there citing reference to the impeachment that occurred in the Fourth Republic of 1999 affecting Honorable Jokotola Pelumi, and he's saying that he, being the second speaker, should have also been granted the same decorum in his impeachment. His impeachment was moved in a motion as raised by Honorable Femi Said, who raised the motion on a matter of urgent public importance and was adopted by 32 members through a voice note that saw him impeached. Now, and he's saying that Lagos ought to be a pedestal and an example for other states, and if such an antecedent begins in the state, he's not too certain that democracy would have its stay. Still restating his fact that even if he is removed, not wanting to use the word impeached, he will still be a member of the House representing his constituency.
Yes.
But we've also seen some reports circulating and making the rounds in the media that his issue particularly is stemming from his conflict of interest with the Lagos state governor. There's some reports saying that he always exempts himself from state functions if the governor is there. And even when he makes appearances, he breaks protocol by arriving late, despite when the protocol says that the governor is the last person to make entrance into a venue of such magnitudes. Do you think that this is more of a political issue that has now gained grounds in the House, and despite the other allegations, it is spearheaded by the police, which he continues to reiterate in his statement, invading his privacy?
You see, let me tell you, power corrupts. An absolute power corrupts, absolutely. You know, Obasa, who has enjoyed the position of speakership, the number 3 citizens of Lagos State, the most populous state in the whole of Africa.
Yeah.
You understand? And with so much wealth and money to throw around, Lagos State is one of the richest states in Africa. And then you don't expect him not to have grown wings after being the speaker for 10 good years. Obasa have actually grown wings. In short, he sees himself like even equal to the governor. And even in his tone, you can imagine what he said during the time he was giving the speech, during the presentation of budget, that even if he wished to contest for the #1 seat in Lagos State, that the people who are there or who have contested are not better than him. You know what that speaks? It speaks arrogancy. You understand?
Including the president, who was once governor of Lagos State.
But the president is supposed to be his more like his ally, if I'm to use that word.
Or political godfather.
Because their friendship.
Yes,
but
because now he missed it. I think Obasa has missed it at some point. Obasa used to be a very good ally and pally to the President of the Federal Republic of Nigeria. is one of Asiwaju's political instrument in Lagos State. And Obasa played a significant role in ensuring that Akinwumi Ambode did not return as a governor of Lagos State in 2019. Beyond that fact, do you know that soon there is upcoming elections in Lagos State?
Local
and I also heard
elections.
the role Obasa is also playing, that he has even threatened that the people who were nominated by leaders, even GSC leaders in Lagos State for his own constituency, Agege one, and even beyond that he wants to put his people there. He has already told them that it's his people that they are going to use. And that fight, while that fight is ongoing, also come up with the issue of this corruption allegation and other insults to the governor and all this show of unnecessary power at this particular time. Now, I would only want to say this, that Obasa himself needs to calculate very well and study. Obasa is not bigger than the law. Obasa is not bigger than Lagos Assembly. Now, I smell doom. This doom I smell is that if Obasa did not retreat his steps and Lelu, what will happen is that they will put some more allegations on him, and that can lead to his suspension from the house. That means, there is a popular saying in Yoruba language that he who fights and run away will live to fight another day. He should tread with caution. All this media interview that he's granting, at least for that once, it's good to show that he's not a coward, to show that he's bold, to show that he's a leader to his followers, but not to take up on that words. You should not listen to any soothsayers. You should not listen to the voice. You're fighting against your own party that made you. What more are you begging God for? A party that has voted you into the house for 6 times, like rightly put it. A party that have made you, not that you're better than anybody. There are many people in the house that is better than Obasa himself. But the party and the leadership of the party, the GSC, the governor, the former governor, and the supreme leader of the party, made you the speaker against every other person. It is not the time for you to denigrate that house. Beyond that, I smell a political doom for Obasa if he does not retract his steps. So for me, as a Lagosian and as a patriot, and as someone who wants the democratic tenets to continue to grow and to move smoothly, I would advise Obasa that he should refrain from further fight against. Yes, he has the right to deny it and to even challenge the house as a normal member of the house, to say that these allegations against his person are false. He has the right to defend himself. But let me tell you, I've always said this and I will repeat it, that corrupt politicians in Nigeria are corrupt. Majority of politicians are corrupt. And that is why I see that there are certain fights that is instituted against politicians, that politicians is expected to fight back. But most times they can't fight back, because if you dig deep into that fight, they will go for it.
And one thing I've heard you reiterate is the influence of the party in a process where many Nigerians always believe is supposed to be free and fair in terms of the emergence of who represents a constituency, especially in the House of Legislature. Now, party influences 6 times, especially when you said it's not as if there were no better candidates, but it almost feels that the party primaries, the party influences whoever the other voters decide to vote at the ballot.
Not just the party, the president, who is the leader of the party before he became the president. I just hope and pray that things will change going forward. But before now, let me tell you, Asiwaju Bola Ahmed Tinubu is the person who decides, because once the people, the GSC, have screened, nominated or selected anybody in their constituency, they will still bring the list to the president, and the president assents for approval. Assent because he's the leader. This has nothing to do with whether you're calling the name of the president on issue that is not. Even the president cannot deny this. He is the supreme leader of the party in Lagos State before he became a national leader. And don't forget that for many years, since 1999 to date, you can check, Asiwaju Bola Ahmed Tinubu has maintained that position of providing leadership
for the
and
party,
constituting even the GSC. Ashewaju constituted the GAC, which have now gone forward to become one of the most powerful header statesmen
in Lagos,
in Nigeria, not Lagos State.
No problem.
They decide who become anything. Today, I cannot just stand from nowhere and say I want to become something in Lagos State if this GAC does not approve me.
Patriot Desmond, hold on a bit. Let's also make room to accommodate another angle to the conversation, especially when it comes to the contribution of states. Lagos continues to top the chart when it comes to value-added tax contributions and GDP contributions to Nigeria's economy. This morning, we're also going to be having a guest join us to discuss this issue, especially off the back of the 2024 VAT-sharing reports and what each zone of the country contributed. Chijioke will do us the honors of introducing our next guest.
Well, certainly at this point we're being joined by Murkta Mohammed, who happens to be an economist, also joining virtually. A very good morning to you, Murkta. It's wonderful to have you join us on Morning Express today.
Thank you. My pleasure.
All right, fantastic. Now, the tax reform bill has been a very huge bone of contention, and one angle of it that has had governors, head-butting themselves for quite some time is the VAT-sharing formula, which in recent times, I think a couple of days or weeks ago, we saw like a bit of a headway with regards to that, but now it's like the bottleneck is back in place. What are your thoughts, Mr. Murkta, with regards to this situation?
Well, I think it was not that we had a headway. It said that they recommended to the Tax Reform Committee this is what they wanted. And the Tax Reform Committee, it was a recommendation, and it was not there for the Tax Reform Committee to take it or try to adjust it. And they'll have like the members on the side was going to be an ongoing discussion. Now, I have my own reservation because it became a political, for as far as I'm concerned, that was a political decision whereby you say equality. The whole idea of the value-added tax is what are you adding? You can't not be adding anything and you want to contribute 50, you want to collect 50% equality. And so that, for me, it became a political solution. So if it's becoming a bottleneck now, I mean, that means that it didn't go down well with the Tax Reform Committee, because the whole idea of the tax reform is to help smaller business grow, to also help bigger business expand and create jobs, and to also force government to empower their people to consume. If your people are not consuming, then your value-added tax will be low. So unfortunately, we had a political solution, but I said for one that I didn't think that solution will see the light of the day. So I'm not surprised if we have bottlenecks now. So there's still a lot of work to be done. The president is a politician. I heard your guest there in the studio calling the supreme leader. I mean, that's the first time I'm hearing that kind of a name in Nigerian politics. Somebody becoming the supreme leader of a political party. So hope he will use the supremacy, and they say the GDA is not a national body, so maybe they need to intervene in this tax reform issue. But I can tell you, it's a long battle that will be fought, because again, the current 2025 budget also depends on the implementation from that tax reform.
Now, talk us through this calculations, especially off the back of 2024, the 6 geopolitical zones and their contributing factors. People continue to talk about Lagos bearing the brunt, contributing more than half the VAT pool in over 2.75 trillion naira and receiving just merely 460 billion, as compared to Kano, that contributed 7.7 billion and received 170 billion from the VAT pool. Despite that minute contribution, they gained more. What happens to Lagos going forward in 2025, especially with this equity in sharing the VAT that a whole lot of northern governors are canvassing for?
Well, it will be same of same, because again, they are trying to scaffold Lagos, because they all remember that the governor of Borno State said the tax reform bill is all about Lagos receiving more money than any other state. So I think the war is still there. I mean, the battle is still raging. Whether Lagos will win the war, or whether the governors have won the battle and Lagos will win the war, we need to wait and see. Why Kano State is getting more allocation than Lagos, they were using the population. But again, you know why Lagos generates so much, because 90% of businesses in Nigeria reside in Lagos and have their branches in other parts of the country. And the bad formula says that they pay to their area, their head office, and if their head office in Lagos, that means remittance goes to Lagos. Even those that were paid by others in other states, they will be given to Lagos. So I think that is the challenge. But I think that's what the tax reform committee have to work from, because you serve the headquarter here, and then doesn't mean that all value-added tax from there should go to you, or even those that are in their other stations will still pay tax. They will still give it to Lagos State, because this an addition to Lagos State, because the headquarters is located in Lagos State. That they need to work on. But like I said, it's value-added, and that means for them to locate there, to site their headquarters in Lagos, that means Lagos is adding value for them. So Lagos definitely need to take. But again, when you talk about value added, is what is consumed again. So Lagos, because the added value to the economy, a lot of people want to be in Lagos, and most of they consume in Lagos. So it's not rocket science for them to do. So if you want to get more value added tax, then make your state better for companies to want to be there, and also pay the value added tax, and people are able to consume the product of those companies. So the governors need to work around that. The era whereby we practice for the embottled federalism, whereby you just go and collect. A state like Kano State, like you mentioned, is collecting value added tax, but yet destroying some of those. They don't allow betting, they don't allow alcohol, and yet all these are part of the value added tax, and they will still collect the money from where alcohol is located. So these are part of the injustice that a lot of people think are in the system, so they need to work on it.
Well, we'll come back to you, Mr. Murkta, in just a short while. But back to you here in the studio, Patriot Desmond. The NGF has proposed, VAT revenue to be shared by, according to these indices now, 50% based on equality, 30% based on derivation, and 20% based on population. And with the argument on the table concerning the population of Lagos, the population of Kano State, and then other states within, especially northern part of Nigeria, where the population is high, but the productivity level or the revenue generation is quite low. How do we balance this? Is this proposal by the NGF a viable one?
Let me tell you, just like the virtual guest, I just love his perspective towards the tail end, when he gave us a clear scenario of what is the injustice that must be addressed, collectively. There are states that are generating this money, this VAT, and you are standing strong as a group of northern governors and saying that you must have a fair sharing of this VAT, rather than saying that the headquarters or the states where they have the population, the consuming population of these items is coming from. For me, I feel there is no common sense as that. What is logical is that maybe state governors, like he advised, needs to start creating some areas. We used to have such areas before in Sabongeri. In that Sabongeri, you can create that kind of areas where you can exempt your people, because you want to keep the sanctity of their culture and their heritage, and ensure that they don't meld those into drinking of alcohols and all that. You should create areas that Sharia does not, affect the economy. And that can be an argument for the state governors. And then the federal government cannot look at it and consider their request. But in the meantime, the state governors in the northern states needs to also understand that if you must go to justice, it has to be with a clean hand.
Well, thank you so much, Patriot Desmond. A good way to end the discussion here with you. We must thank you so much. It's been a pleasure having this robust and in-depth discussion on many issues with you here in the studio.
The pleasure is always mine.
And also, Mr. Murkta, are you still with us?
Yes.
Finally, just in your parting shot, this opposition to reduction in corporate income tax and certain tax exemptions for low-earning income earners in Nigeria, what do you make of it? Is it a good one, or does it also need revisiting?
No, that doesn't even need revision. That's a fantastic one. I mean, that's what is done in developed countries of the world. That, for me, that's why I'm saying I'm so upset when the governors are saying that the corporate income tax should remain the same. What the tax reform committee is proposing is saying that, look, let's reduce it so that businesses will have a little burden on tax and they will be able to expand them more. And they say, no, look at the lower end of Nigerian cadre, the civil servants. If you don't, and then they don't need to be paying so much taxes. For me, that's the best committee that Mr. President have constituted, and they are thinking they tend to work towards the expansion of businesses and also the improvement of the livelihood of Nigeria so that they can have more to consume. So, and then companies will also be able to expand, and then we'll create more jobs, and then we'll be able to deal with unemployment. So it's unfortunate that the governors are just thinking about revenues that comes to them and does not even trickle down to the average citizen in their own state. They're just looking for revenue to begin to do white elephant project, like somebody building airport in Ekiti when we have not finished landing in Lagos. So those are the type of things they'll be using such money to be doing. I think it's high time that they look at this tax reform, look at how you can make your state conducive. If you make your state very conducive, then the 5% that these companies are, they can use it to expand and create jobs for people in your own state. That is the whole idea of tax reform committee. It's not all about revenue, because the global best practice these days is to use revenue, to use tax as a means of growing your economy, rather than just seeing tax as a revenue tool.
Thank you very much. A fine place to leave it. We appreciate you for your insight on the subject. We're hoping that time going forward into the week will permit for us to also get more opinions from you as the conversation unfolds. We appreciate you.
Thank you for having me.